I think this is the best Renaissance age in all things of compute. And for the first time, we're able to mimic the way human beings think and interact.
In this episode of Embedded Insiders, Krishna Rangasayee, founder and CEO of SiMa.ai, joins the podcast to discuss advancements surrounding physical AI at the edge. His company is focused on a software-centric physical AI, hardware and software platform, and we dive into some of the trends and challenges in this space. Next, Rich is joined by Alex Urio, Avnet's Senior Vice President for Global Supplier Development, to discuss the company's recent survey covering AI's impact on engineering. The two review the results and what they mean for the future of AI. But first, Ken and I share our thoughts, feelings, and maybe some hesitation surrounding the growth of physical AI. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Embedded Insiders podcast. I'm Assistant Managing Editor Tiara Oliver, joined as always with our Editor-in-Chief, Ken Briota. Hello, Ken.
Good afternoon, good evening, or good night, depending on where you're listening from, my friends.
How are you this Wednesday? Yes.
It'll be it's Wednesday, right? It
Yep.
should be Wednesday when they're hearing this. Maybe it'll be a Thursday.
Oh
Who
yeah,
knows?
maybe Thursday. I'm all jumbled
Whenever
up
you're
over here.
listen, friends, I'm going to tell you this right now. Time is a soup, and sometimes it's a gazpacho, but if you're very, very lucky, it'll be like a nice hearty black bean. You take that to the bank.
I love your sayings. That was funny. That was a good one. Never heard that one before.
Thanks. We should probably get on topic though before everyone unsubscribes.
Yes. So the interview following this intro is a very cool one. I got to speak to Krishna Rangasayee. He's the founder and CEO of SiMa.ai. And they're a company focused on advancing physical AI at the edge. He's a great speaker. I know he's done a ton of interviews, but he's got a lot of background in the semiconductor and AI infrastructure industry and has worked with like Altera Corporation, Cypress, Lattice Semiconductor. So he had a lot of great information to share. Not too much that I will spill in this intro. I'll leave it for him, but yeah, I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts and opinion on the topic, with AI moving from something we, I guess, talk to something we are beginning to live more and more with.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think go for it.
It's no, it's I want to hear your opinion because I am, as everyone listening to this has, I'm sure, garnered by now, always a little bit on the fence about some of the AI talk and prediction and stuff. I think that it's a valuable tool in the arsenal and very rarely should be developed for its own sake. And so I would love to hear your thoughts based on your interview and what you've been reading about physical AI, what you think, because I heard the thoughts of somebody pretty prominent in this space when I was at CES. And before I get into that, I want to hear what you think.
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to like companies using it for robotics in a factory and things like that, I think it sounds awesome. I know his company is focused on a software-centric physical AI hardware and software platform.
Yeah.
But I think when we as, regular consumers think about it, it's becoming AI is something that's becoming like increasingly tangible, and that's kind of scary, especially when you think about it entering your home and it's something that, we're moving from a AI that's software to
Lives in the
something that
physical
world with us and has intelligence and can not only see, hear, and move and respond to things, but yeah, react to
Yeah.
things that's happening around them. So I think when you think about it that way, it's kind of like, okay, this sounds very human-like.
Well, that's the thing is like, So I teased it a little bit. When I was at CES, Jensen Huang of NVIDIA did a
Mhm.
big keynote, and it was almost entirely about physical AI. He's very much on that as a move, though step beyond agentic AI is sort of how he was describing it. And the thing that he was talking about a lot of different things. He was talking about robots in the home, and he was talking about industrial and all these other sort of physical objects with AI enablement on them. And it was a really impactful speech. A lot of people were talking about it at CES. A lot of people were sort of considering the issues and things. I don't think we're there yet in terms of marketplace willingness to implement. I don't think people want that many machines around them. And I'm
Mhm.
not sure that the desire for that is growing outside of the sort of tech bubble, outside of the early adopter space.
Mhm.
Um, we've seen this kind of a wave before when we were talking about IoT. It took a long time for IoT outside of industrial and like enterprise spaces to really start to catch on, because individuals were like, "What do you mean this thing is going to be watching me all the time?" You
Yeah.
know, and to add that in, and it still hasn't really found penetration in the smart home market. People don't
Mhm.
like that stuff, especially if it's not easy to integrate, easy to set up. And one thing AI is not is easy
Yes.
for average people. So I don't know that it's going to hit the consumer market really hard. On
Yeah.
the other hand, at least not in the short term. On the other hand, I think it's going to be very powerful in industrial spaces, as as warehousing and manufacturing and supply chain all become more and more automated. I think the physical AI is, of course, going to be part of that whole process. And um, my hope is that these implementers will continue to be using small models, tailored models, training data that is specifically built for the task at hand,
Yeah.
with using their own internal data. It's so much more uh, predictable, reliable, and less prone to hallucination and false conclusions than the large language models are.
Yeah.
So I think it's really, really cool.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're good where we're at with like the smart speakers, some of the smart cameras, and maybe
I
even a
think we
smart
maybe are a
fridge
step
if you
too
have
far.
one. I know I'm like, maybe the smart fridge is a little too much, but yeah, robots, being in your home and interacting with you like another human being is frightening
Yeah,
to me. So,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I need that either.
yes, exactly.
It seems like every time a large language model at least is put onto another tool, another thing, the thing itself gets worse at its primary function. So I'm
Yes.
not hoping for that anytime soon. But the on the industrial and enterprise and B2B side, I think that there's definitely going to be a market there, and it's going to be pretty interesting. Physical AI isn't here, but it's probably coming. It's
It's
probably
coming.
coming.
Sounds
um,
good.
Total non sequitur. I saw some really interesting news this morning at time of recording.
Mm.
That if I'm sure folks will have heard about it by the time they hear this episode, but uh, TI Texas Instruments has announced that it has made an agreement to acquire Silicon Labs uh,
Wow.
for about 7.5 billion, give or take, in an all cash transaction. So, I mean, that's a huge deal, huge
Mhm.
acquisition by TI, and is gonna make them. I mean, they're both Texas companies. It's gonna make
Mhm.
them a major. I mean, they were already a big contender. It's gonna make them even harder to overlook when it comes to wireless connectivity, uh, silicon, any of this stuff. So it's really, really cool. Big news.
Wow, that is big.
Yeah, check out the details at embeddedcomputing.com. It's already posted, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it more over the next couple of weeks as we get closer to Embedded World.
Awesome. And maybe we can even score an interview. So stay tuned,
Oh,
everyone.
yes.
Now, here's Krishna Rangasayee of SiMa.ai. We did experience some technical glitches in this interview, so apologies in advance, but we hope you still enjoy.
So that you could really be concurrent with the models, you could collect the data, and with more rich data, you could make the models operate more accurately. So that entire life cycle maintenance is one aspect I think people need to spend a lot of time thinking through. The second one is use cases. Uh, Nobody should deploy AI for AI's sake. There should really be a tangible benefit commercially or economically or in terms of safety or accuracy or a clear, tangible benefit that an AI-based system is going to look at. And I would say the industry has spent the last 7 years in an early nascent phase incubating these different concepts. So when somebody now rolls these systems, they really need to think about it a lot. And then the other point I would make is uh, data center and cloud, we kind of really don't care about power dissipation today. And I'm sure you're catching up that 4% of the global energy consumption now is data centers, going up to maybe 8% or maybe even 10% in the next 5-7 years. And we're running out of energy to really feed the data centers in many, many different markets. The physical market that we live in today, the physical world we human beings live in today, that already consumes 28%. Your homes, your cars, your robots, your automation, that's 28%. If the power is not managed there, I don't know what we're going to do. And if you rush into it and dissipate power like crazy, I think we're going to be really, really stuck. And so there's a lot of attention that needs to be paid for power and dissipation at the edge, right? So these are some of the considerations and some barriers or challenges that people have to really think through before they deploy.
So I kind of want to know a little bit more about your company's role in this space. Tell me what you guys are doing.
Yeah, so we are purpose built for physical AI, right? So we took a clean slate approach 7 years ago and said, if we were to land from Mars, what would the world benefit from? So that's what we did. And I think we are now shipping our Generation 2 product. We are engaged with a wide set of customers globally. And what we've been able to do is two things. We have our own silicon. Let me explain to you the product and what we offer, and then I'll explain to you the value proposition. So we offer our own proprietary silicon that's built for processing for physical AI systems. We have a software development environment that programs that particular chip. So customers can write their application on top of a software that runs on our chip. So that's really what we build and ship. And our value proposition is twofold. While performance matters in physical AI systems, like they matter in the cloud, performance per watt is really the most important criteria for our customers. So they almost think of the problem as, I have 10 watts of power, what can I do with it? 15 watts of power, what can I do with it? And very rarely do they really say, hey, let me spend 40, 60, 80, 100 watts. That's non-existent for them. So you need to deliver world-class performance in a very power or constraint. Also have to fit this into existing systems. So performance per watt, we are clearly known to be the best leader in the market. This is against even the biggest, baddest companies in the world. So we're well known for it. The second one is this is a very open source world. And we have created the best open source software environment that is both scalable from CNNs to transformers to LLMs, but also delivers that in a very ease of use environment. So people could really quickly on-ramp AI development without really having to understand too many details on AI or on our architecture. So those are the two things we have done well.
So I kind of want to know a little bit more about, the specific industries that maybe you're targeting or that
Sure.
you foresee the fastest adoption of physical AI.
Yeah. So for us is every aspect of all markets are just now in a mad rush for scaling AI. So that's maybe we have a front row seat to the rush, and I would say this is the new gold rush, and so we're having an exciting time. I'll amplify for you once I've covered the markets we're in, which ones are growing faster than the others. But we are into drones, we are into robotics, we are into automotive, both on the AI assistant infotainment systems, but also on the driver assistant systems. We are into medical, we are into agriculture, we are into aerospace and defense. So these are all exciting markets for us to be at. And the two that I think we believe are going to be the most to adopt AI, but also the fastest growing and longer term volume markets would be no doubts robotics and industrial automation. So that's one category. And the second one would be automotive. And so in automotive, like I told you, it's really both traditional infotainment systems that are moving into AI-based assistance. And the second one is driver assistance systems.
Awesome. So I like to do like a looking into the future kind of question, and I want to know how you foresee this relationship and development amongst cloud and edge and on-device AI evolving, over the next couple of years or however long.
Absolutely. And my thesis is that I think the vector at which I'm going to paint for you the future is possibly more right than wrong. The cloud will grow. I mean, I think there's a lot also said about the cloud will fade away and longer term, everything will move to on-device. I see a happy medium between the two. What I think people are going to really do is pivot from cloud native architectures to on-device native architectures. I definitely see that shift happen. And it doesn't happen in all markets, but definitely things that are latency oriented, security and privacy oriented, and have a cost conscious outlook to them. Those markets absolutely will move to on-device AI or physical AI first. They will have a cloud connectivity for either refresh and updates or for real-time information. And so I think we are going to see the balance, and it makes both economic sense and also business sense that the transition would happen. And each market segment may move at a different pace in which this transition really happens. But if you were to blur your eyes, say in 10 years from now, I would say physical AI will be a much bigger market than the cloud.
Sounds great. So Krishna, those are all the questions I have for you today. But as always, I like to ask if there's anything that I might have missed or anything else you'd like to add.
No, I think this is the best Renaissance age in all things of compute. And for the first time, we're able to mimic the way human beings think and interact.
Now, here's Rich and Alex Urio of Avnet.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Embedded Executive Podcast. My name is Rich Nast. I am with Embedded Computing Design, and my guest this week is Alex Urio, and he is the Senior Vice President for Global Supplier Development at Avnet. How you doing, Alex?
I'm doing very well, Rich. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So I wanted to have you on because you guys just did your annual survey. I was going to say reader survey, but you don't have readers. You have users, customers. So let's start right there with the methodology. Who did you survey? And I want to hear a little bit about them.
So the Avnet's Insight Survey we've used it for a number of years. The last 2 years, it's been focused on AI. And we surveyed 1,200 respondents around the world. The disciplines traverse software, technology, computer equipment, multiple regions, and to be able to launch that survey and then collect the data back on a set of predetermined questions. Exciting to us to see what's going on in AI from my core customers' perspective. I hear a lot about what's going on at the hyperscaler level, but there's a whole mass market and AI implementation need that's out there that we're servicing.
Okay, so just to set this right, you said your customers. Who are your customers? And
Well,
I don't mean
so
specifically, but
any
in general terms.
customer, Rich, that buys electronic components, semiconductors, and associated components would be my customer, right? But the core customers, where Avnet spends, the vast majority of our time, where we offer our full value proposition, is really in the middle tier of customers and then into the mass market, right? Essentially our key supplier partners pay us to maintain and canvas and have our finger on the pulse of that marketplace, so that they understand what the mass market is doing. So that's where we spend most of our time. That's where we offer our full services. But of course, at the very top of the triangle, we offer services as well, but they're more supply chain oriented as opposed to full service. And when I say full service, I'm talking about design efforts, resources, solutions for those customers that are trying to design and bring products to market.
Now, you said this is about the second-ish year that you've had a focus on artificial intelligence in this survey. Are you brought to it? And what I mean by that is that's how we do coverage. We don't cover what we think is important. We just cover what the audience tells us is important. So right. Is that why you were guided in that direction?
No, I think that as we've looked at the AI market and really the explosion of the AI market, it seems fairly logical to us how it's progressing, right? Yeah, I made the comment earlier about the hyperscalers. That's where the action is. That's where the dollars are. But at this point, I think we'd have to agree that AI functionality in computers and cell phones, and whether the computer part has been accelerated by AI has accelerated the computer refresh, what have you, those would be examples of customers at the very top tier. We may service them in terms of logistics capabilities specific to the high-tech supply chain, a business that Avnet cut out and developed expertise in 1992. But the next part of AI is this concept of AI at the edge. And that's where we get most excited, because that implies computational capability at the edge. It implies microcontrollers and MCUs, and it implies, neural networks and large action models as opposed to large language models. And we see that developing. We have, in my opinion, the greatest stable of microcontroller manufacturers in the world, all of which that are developing products to be able to accommodate AI at the edge. All of them have a desperate need to be able to show that capability to customers in an efficient way. One of the things that an Avnet will always do is develop solutions that will accelerate our customers' knowledge and their time to market. And let's face it, Rich, we're talking about their time to money. Yep. In just this specific regard, we've developed a platform called IoT Connect, partnered with the top 5 microcontroller manufacturers on our line card to optimize those devices for our IoT Connect platform, as well as do so in a secure and encrypted fashion, right? So what this does for our customers in a solution regard is any one of those microcontrollers out of the box, you can't do much. But you take it out of the box, you put it in our sandbox, you're allowed development, you can actually, construct a network all in a secure way. This is how we're trying to enable AI at the edge.
And those 5 vendors are?
In no particular order, Rich.
Of course.
ST Microelectronics, NXP, Microchip, Renesas, and Infineon. Those are the microcontroller manufacturers. Certainly, we're doing development with our key supplier partners who are in the MPU space, probably led there by AMD.
Okay, so let's get into the survey. If you had to pick out one item from the survey that is startling or surprising, what would it be?
I've been asked this question a couple of times, and I don't know that I've got something that's startling or surprising. So here's the way we see it. When you start thinking, about AI, and the survey really bifurcates it or divides it, there's AI in terms of application For process, what are you doing to improve your processes internally, manufacturing or otherwise? And then you hold on one second. Sorry about that. Maybe I should have done what I said earlier. So ask me the question again, Rich. I'm sorry to get cut off.
Was there anything that was really startling that emerged from the study that you were surprised by?
Yeah, so not really surprising. When you think about, the two sides of it, right? Am I using AI internally, or am I embedding those capabilities? Probably we should come up with a better word than embedding, including those capabilities, in the product. To see last year, it was 42% of those customers surveyed, and see it jumps up to the 56% range. Pretty sizable jump. But then when I start to think in terms of education, in terms of the solutions that are available, in terms of the products that are available to facilitate that journey, it doesn't surprise me. As a matter of fact, it wouldn't surprise me if it bumps up again quite significantly. For years, our partners at Intel talked about the rise of the edge. And I think it made a whole lot of sense, because in those days, 10 years ago, we were talking about the edge as those customers that were connected to the internet. Today, it's every customer who's building a product that wouldn't be connected to to the internet. And I think once you're connected, applying some level of intelligence to those connections makes perfect sense. So we're not surprised by the increased adoption. And based on what I just said, we think that adoption will even go further.
One of the things that I noticed in this study that's, I'll say it's disappointing. I don't know if that's the right word, but while these engineers are designing AI-based products, they're not using AI in their design process. And that shouldn't be. If we're advocating the use of AI, why aren't we adopting it in our own work?
I think to varying degrees. I think it's important to stop here and think about how fast this thing has moved. Okay, it really has, right? So we've been getting a set of questions about, well, these are the 14 things that engineers are telling us they're using AI for today. Which one do you think, Alex, is going to emerge? All of them, right? Assuming that they're satisfactory and return on investment type applications. But I think this is under that category of not surprised. It doesn't surprise me that there's no clear winner and that the engineers are talking about AI in every possible context. But I think that does include the kinds of tools that they're using to help develop, CAD type tools that are now AI assisted. But then I think it also goes all the way back to process automation, as you saw in the survey, in terms of where it's being used today. So I don't draw conclusions from the survey in the sense that, boy, it told me what's going to be big. I think what the survey told us and the angle of incident increases in the various categories shows us the whole thing's going to be big and getting bigger.
Okay. Do you feel like we have the haves and the have-nots, those that are really comfortable working in this domain, and those that are just saying, I'm going to let somebody else do that?
Yeah, we talk a little about that, and I think that some of these great leaders who are involved, have made commentary in that regard, and I think they're absolutely right. I mean, some of that I think is gauged and paced by our reticence to accept the technology, but at the end of the day, we better figure out that we're not going to be replaced by AI, right? But Jensen's right. We're going to be replaced by people who effectively use AI, and I think that's the mantra. What you're really getting at is the psychosis of it. And I'm dealing in the reality of it. Not that you're wrong, you're absolutely right, but we need to be able to get over that, because what did they used to say? The train's leaving. You have to make a decision as to whether or not you're going to board.
Right? Yep, absolutely. So I know how long it takes to do these studies, and I imagine you're probably going to be gearing up for the next study pretty shortly. Put the crystal ball in front of you, and what do you think we're going to hear from people a year from now?
I think if CES is any indication, it's robotics, and more robotics, right? And I'm not talking about factory automation and what are the equivalent file cabinets moving around. We're talking about, humanoids. And I think that as you start to see the reality of some of the devices for the edge, right? Microcontrollers with neural processing networks on board. When you start to think of the reality of large action models as opposed to large language models, or vision, language, action as opposed to LLMs, now you start to get into a category where not only can it be done, it is being done. And now the question is, can you move it to scale? So I think robotics is where it's at. Because when you think about robotics, it comprehends all the big trends: machine learning, vision, right? It's all there in my mind in this humanoid form.
You mentioned a whole bunch of MCU guys, and they're all great. There's no question about that. We often have issues on the software side. Is the software keeping up to speed with what these hardware guys are producing?
It has to, but it becomes a partnership effort. So I would say yes, in terms of the necessary software stacks to be able to not only run the device, but to be able to develop with it, I would say yes, they're developing. But then I think they're developing on pace with what the devices require. But I also think that partners, real partners who are developing across technologies, across suppliers and so forth, offering programs like IoT Connect to facilitate adoption and address those issues of time to market and time to money we talked about earlier, that's what you'll see start to develop. Ecosystems for sure.
Yep, absolutely. If people want to get a copy of the study, is this available to the general public?
Absolutely. We have it on our website. Yeah, we have it on our website, but people can feel free to go there so they can download and take a look. And hopefully it'll prompt additional conversation about unique and innovative applications that Avnet's here to serve.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Alex. I appreciate you taking the time.
Sure.
That was Alex Urio. He is the Senior Vice President of Global Supplier Development at Avnet, and I am Rich Nass with Open Systems Media.
Thanks for listening to this edition of Embedded Insiders. For more daily news, videos, and podcasts, visit our website at embeddedcomputing.com.